Welcome to the movie recap. Today, we are going to review a 2024 horror/mystery, a film called Immaculate. This film trying to revive a blood and cheese 90s style with Sweeney. A perfect combination. Okay, let's dive in. Cecilia, a young nun, relocated to a country that seemed idyllic, moving there for a role at a renowned convent. Initially, she was warmly welcomed by the community, but she soon uncovered a grim secret about her new environment. The story unfolds within a convent, focusing on Sister Mary, a young nun who, after praying, secretly enters the private quarters of a senior nun to steal the keys, hoping to escape. However, her plan is thwarted when she is trapped between the bars of the gate by one of three cloaked figures pursuing her. During the struggle, she injured her leg and lost consciousness from the pain. Upon waking, she discovers she has been buried alive. Cecilia is a devout believer who has just arrived in the scenic Italian countryside for a new position. Father Saltesca, a priest, had offered her a role at an exclusive convent where she would care for the elderly nuns in their final days. She was warmly welcomed and shown around by a nun named Isabel. Isabel then led Cecilia to her room, but seemed irritated by her presence and urged her to leave before changing her mind. However, Cecilia had already decided to stay. Later, she met and befriended another sister named Gwen. Before the ceremony, Cecilia was excited to meet Father Teschi again. After the event, in a conversation with Father Teschi, he shared his story of how he fell in love with the convent. Cecilia, in turn, revealed her own past, which inspired her to choose a life as a nun. At the age of 12, Cecilia enjoyed walking on a frozen lake until the ice cracked, causing her to fall into the freezing water. She nearly drowned for 7 minutes, shaping her life's devotion to faith. One night, Cecilia responded to a sobbing sound from the bathroom. She discovered a nun in distress, kneeling and weeping, leading her to follow the sound. As she approached, she offered comfort but retreated in fear when the nun turned to face her, revealing a featureless face. Suddenly, the Reverend Mother emerged, guiding her to the altar where she retrieved a rusty nail from a glass container. The Reverend Mother explained that this nail had been taken from the cross where Jesus Christ was crucified, and she presented it to Cecilia, who noticed a hole in her hand. Cecilia fell into a deep sleep. Upon waking, she found herself restrained by shadowy figures, with her hands held tightly. This marked the beginning of Cecilia's nightmare. She peered through the door and saw someone watching her intently. Cecilia tilted the lampshade to get a better view, but didn't see anyone. The Reverend Mother conversed with others while Cecilia and Gwen laughed nearby. The Reverend Mother scolded the two young sisters for not focusing on their chores, though they worked hard together. The young nuns cared for a frail older nun who eventually passed away. Cecilia noticed Sister Isabel staring at her frequently. Later that night, as Cecilia prepared to sleep, an older nun unexpectedly trimmed her hair, leaving her confused. A few days later, while Cecilia bathed with other young nuns, Gwen shared her story of joining the convent after fleeing her abusive boyfriend. Gwen admitted that although her faith wasn't as deep as the others, she stayed because the convent provided safety and stability. Cecilia quietly listened, only to fall ill and require a checkup. While waiting, she saw a shadowy figure outside, frightening her. Cecilia was summoned to the cardinal's office for questioning. The cardinal asked if she had broken her vows by leaving the convent. Father Teschi comforted her, believing her hesitation stemmed from confusion rather than a lack of faith. Cecilia remained firm, insisting she had kept her commitments. After making a solemn vow to God that surprised many, Father Teschi inquired further. The doctor revisited Cecilia's case, revealing to everyone's astonishment that she was pregnant. The cardinal and Father Teschi were overjoyed, believing Cecilia was destined to become the next Virgin Mary. They organized a grand ceremony to celebrate the divine event. However, Sister Isabel and Gwen were visibly unhappy about the situation. As Cecilia entered her second trimester, she experienced unusual symptoms and found one of her teeth had fallen out. At breakfast, everyone except Gwen greeted her warmly. The senior nun advised her to avoid moving too much while pregnant. Cecilia was unwinding in the bathtub when an unexpected shove forced her underwater. She realized it was Isabel attempting to drown her. Cecilia fought back as Isabel tried to suffocate her. A senior nun rushed in with two younger ones. Although Cecilia was unharmed, she was shaken and confused by the incident. She recounted Isabel's frantic screams as she was restrained. Father Teschi expressed relief that the baby was safe, but Cecilia, traumatized, couldn't be comforted. After the incident, Isabel became more watchful and wary. During a walk in the corridors, Cecilia noticed two nuns observing her from a window. Suddenly, one of them jumped from the roof. To her shock, it was Isabel. The other nuns accompanied her to Isabel's grave. Before her death, Isabel had warned Cecilia not to trust anyone at the convent. Cecilia began uncovering unsettling truths. She found a loose picture frame with a hidden Bible verse in Italian, which she translated, "Satan frequently disguises himself as an angel of light." The revelation made her reconsider Gwen's warnings. She entered Gwen's room quietly, but didn't find her there. Tiptoeing into the cardinal's office, Cecilia discovered documents linking the convent to sinister events. Suddenly, she heard a scream and followed the sound, peeking through a keyhole. Tears filled Cecilia's eyes as she saw a faceless nun harming Gwen. Backing away in terror, she was grabbed by another nun who covered her mouth. Despite her frailty, this nun managed to smile and slipped Cecilia a bundle of hair tied neatly with a string. Desperate for help, Cecilia pleaded for assistance in escaping. The nun gravely warned her that escape was impossible. Cecilia's cries often woke the nurses, prompting Father Tesca to check on her. Cecilia begged for help, but Father Tesca's comforting words masked a hidden agenda. He took her to the nearest hospital, which turned out to be a ploy. A nurse praying by Cecilia's side noticed a peculiar smell, uncovering a bag of chicken blood under the bed. Father Tesca learned Cecilia had faked a miscarriage to escape. Realizing her plan had failed, Cecilia fled from the car, but was quickly captured by Tesca. Back at the convent, she was harshly washed by a senior nun who berated her for attempting to flee. Confined to a wheelchair near the crucifixion nails, Cecilia learned of Father Tesca's plan to use her pregnancy for genetic experiments to create a new Jesus Christ. Father Tesca showed Cecilia jars containing fetuses in the basement, revealing only a few appeared normal. His assistant, Deacon Enzo, restrained Cecilia, burning her feet with crosses to prevent escape. During her third trimester, Cecilia confided in the cardinal, her eyes streaming with tears as she pulled a nail from her finger. The doctor examined her unborn child before leaving with the Reverend Mother, who watched the baby on a monitor. In desperation, Cecilia grabbed a crucifix and killed the Reverend Mother. Suppressing a scream as her water broke, she strangled the cardinal with her rosary. Afterward, she set Father Tesca's lab ablaze, confronting him in a brutal fight. Cecilia collapsed but managed to lock Tesca in the burning lab, stabbing him with a crucifixion nail. Fleeing into the underground catacombs, Cecilia searched for an exit, finding Gwen badly injured but alive. Together, they navigated the labyrinth, encountering Tesca again. He initiated a ritual to extract Cecilia's child, but she overpowered him, killing him with the nail. Finally, Cecilia emerged from the catacombs, collapsing in agony as she gave birth. Her baby's unnatural cries confirmed the horrors she had endured. In a final act, Cecilia severed the umbilical cord with her teeth and ended the child's life with a rock. Exhausted but liberated, she walked away, forever scarred by the ordeal. Thanks for watching till the end. As always, I advise you to enjoy the full movie, but I appreciate you being here. See you next time. Take care.